Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmat. Ekatmanav api bhuvi puradeha bedam gatau tau. Chaitanya-kyam prakatam aduna tadvayam chekyamaptam. Radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmat. Ekatmanav api bhuvi pura deha bedam gatau tau. Chaitanya-kyam prakatam aduna tadvayam chekyamaptam. Radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vikritir Ladini Shaktir Asmat. Ekatmanav api bhuvi puradeha bedam gatau tau. Chaitanya-kyam prakatam aduna tadvayam chekyamaptam. Radha bhava dyuti suvalitam nomi Krishna swarupam. Ladies. The 11 affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bowed down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment and complexion of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This text is from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami. It appears as the fifth of the first 14 verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Radha Krishna Eka Atma Dui Deha Dhari Anyonye Vilase Rasa Asvadana Kori. Radha and Krishna are one and the same, but they have assumed two bodies. Thus they enjoy each other, tasting the mellows of love. Purport. The two transcendentalists, Radha and Krishna, are a puzzle to materialists. The above description of Radha and Krishna from the diary of Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami is a condensed explanation, but one needs great spiritual insight to understand the mystery of these two personalities. One is enjoying in two. Sri Krishna is the potent factor, and Srimati Radharani is the internal potency. According to Vedanta philosophy, there is no difference between the potent and the potency. They are identical. We cannot differentiate between one and the other, any more than we can separate fire from heat. Everything in the absolute is inconceivable in relative existence. Therefore, in relative cognizance, it is very difficult to assimilate this truth of the oneness between the potent and the potency. The philosophy of inconceivable oneness and difference propounded by Lord Chaitanya is the only source of understanding for such intricacies of transcendence. In fact, Radharani is the internal potency of Sri Krishna, and she eternally intensifies the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Impersonalists cannot understand this without the help of a Mahabhagavat devotee. The very name Radha suggests that Srimati Radharani is eternally the topmost mistress of the comforts of Sri Krishna. As such, she is the medium transmitting the living entity's service to Sri Krishna. Devotees in Vrindavan therefore seek the mercy of Srimati Radharani in order to be recognized as loving servitors of Sri Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally approaches the fallen conditioned souls of the Iron Age to deliver the highest principle of transcendental relationships with the Lord. The activities of Lord Chaitanya are primary in the role of the pleasure-giving portion of his internal potency. The activities of Lord Chaitanya are primarily in the role of the pleasure-giving portion of his internal potency. The absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, is the omnipotent form of transcendental existence, knowledge, and bliss in full. His internal potency is exhibited first as sat, or existence, or in other words, as the portion that expands the existence function of the Lord. When the same potency displays full knowledge, it is called chit, or samvit, which expands the transcendental forms of the Lord. Finally, when the same potency plays as a pleasure-giving medium, it is known as hladini, or the transcendental blissful potency. Thus the Lord manifests his internal potency in three transcendental divisions. Se dui eka ebe chaitanya gosai, rasa aswadite donhe hoila ekatani. Now to enjoy rasa, they have appeared in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Agyantimidandasya Jnananjana Chalakaya Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juthapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathambitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna. I welcome you to the beginning of our Gaur Purnima festival. Thank you for being with us, Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Temple. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur tells us that these two particular days of the appearance of Lord Nityananda and the appearance of Lord Chaitanya are supremely auspicious, because these days are especially blessed with the Lord's grace. Any prayers we offer, any sadhana we perform, any seva that we present is received especially by the Lord. And yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamya. This verse is very, very significant in the path of bhakti. That as we approach the Lord reciprocates accordingly. Because love on the transcendental platform is reciprocation. Krishna is Rasaraj, Rasa Bihari. He is the reservoir of all pleasure, and he is the embodiment, the emporium of supreme ras, or spiritual love. Like the sun is shining for everyone. But to the degree we are willing to expose ourselves to the sun, we will actually experience the light, the heat, and the rays of the sun. So Krishna's love is for all. But according to how we receive that love is what will be the experience we have. Srila Prabhupada would tell us if we take one step toward Krishna, Krishna is willing to take thousands of steps toward us. But in this age of Kali, it is so very rare and even difficult to progressively just take those steps toward Krishna. Because Maya, the illusory potency, is constantly in the process of trying to bewilder us to step in another direction. And if we step in another direction, Krishna reciprocates by allowing Maya to take charge. To the degree, with sincerity, with enthusiasm, we turn to God. To that degree, God reciprocates and reveals Himself to us. We read about the great King Katvanga. He was told that he would die in just a moment. And in that moment, he surrendered his heart, his soul, his life, his everything to the service of the Lord. He chanted God's name in meditation so deeply with gratitude, humility, and devotion that the Lord revealed to himself in that moment and elevated him to the highest perfection of the spiritual world. Of course, it was not something that he could just do at the last minute. He actually prepared his whole life for that last minute. through his service, through his devotion. We read about Krishna when he entered into Mathura. He was there to give the same love to everyone, according to who they were and how they were willing to reciprocate. There was a flower seller. And when Krishna and the Gopas came to his little stall, he saw, this is my Lord, this is my beloved. And he brought the very, very best flower garland he had ever made and offered it to Krishna without expecting anything in return. He didn't ask for blessings. He didn't ask for rupees. He didn't ask for mystic powers or liberation. He just gave it to please Krishna. Samsiddhir Haritoshana. If he would have asked for liberation, he would have got that. If he would have asked for mystic powers, he would have got them. He was just a poor, simple little flower seller. If he asked for great wealth and a kingdom, Krishna would have given that. He didn't ask for anything. He just wanted to please Krishna with no ulterior motive. And Krishna immediately gave him prema bhakti. He gave him the highest ecstatic love, the perfection of mukti. Mukti is the goal of the Vedic literatures. And we understand from Lord Chaitanya and the great acharyas that there are different levels of mukti. The most inclusive perfection of the perfection of mukti is prema, or ecstatic love. Liberation from suffering, liberation from the dualities of material existence that cause the repetition of birth and death is the beginning stage of mukti. But in its fullest experience, it is what the Bhagavatam explains, ahoitiki apratihata. Sabai pung sang paro dharmo yato bhaktir hokshache. Ahoitiki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. The supreme dharma, the supreme perfection of all religions, of all occupations, of all activities, words, and thoughts, is to serve God with love. And what does it mean to love? Ahoitaki apratihata. No selfish, no ego, no motivation, no interruption by circumstances that will come. Simply for the pleasure of the Lord. And anyone and everyone has access to this love. It's not that you have to become a Brahmin or a learned scholar. It's not that you have to be from one country or another. It's not that you have to be healthy or sick. It's not that you have to be on your deathbed or a young child. Just our sincerity. Because that love is within us, simply waiting to be awakened. Lord Chaitanya, this was his message. He was singing this song to everyone, without consideration of qualification or disqualification. Jeev jago, Gauda Chandra Pole, Kota Nidra Jayo Maya Pisachira Kole. Wake up, sleeping souls, wake up. You are sleeping in the lap of Maya. Chant these holy names of Mukunda, Madhava, Hari, and understand the real treasure of life. Perfection. So in these verses of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, we are learning about who really is Lord Chaitanya. In his previous avatar as Krishna, that little flower seller, he just gave Krishna a garland. But not only that, Krishna had many friends, and every other nice garland he had, he gave to all his friends without expecting anything in return. And this is a very important principle that is revealed in this pastime. That to please Krishna doesn't mean just to please Krishna alone. Mad bhakta puja pyadika. Worship of my devotees is even more dear to me than worshiping me, the Lord says. Just like if you go to the home of a great person, if you please the father and mother but you neglect the children, are they going to be happy with you? Pleasing the children is very much inclusive in the process of feeding, of pleasing the loving parent. And by visiting Srinathji Prabhu's house, I've learned that pleasing the grandchildren is even more pleasing than the children. And if there's great-grandchildren, I'm sure it will extend even more. We wish you long life, Srinathji Prabhu. So this Sudama, the flower seller, he knew the art, he knew the science. Vedaishcha saravera hameva vedyo venanta krit veda vedeva chaham. By all the Vedas, Krishna said, I am to be known. He wasn't a great scholar, but he understood the essence of life, to please Krishna and to please the devotees of Krishna. And he did. Krishna gave him the benediction, any desire you have for the rest of your life will be fulfilled. And after you leave this world, you will return to my abode. Krishna walked on a little, and he went to another shop of a washerman who was washing clothes. And he had nice clothes. Krishna asked him, can you give me some clothes, new clothes? I've just come into Mathura. And the washerman became violently angry at Krishna. Krishna said, give my friends some clothes too. He said, these are the clothes that are made for Kamsa. I am the washerman for Kamsa. I'm a tailor who makes clothes for Kamsa. And you are asking for you and your cowherd friends? You deserve to be killed for this offense. Krishna gave him the same exact chance as the flower seller. Yayatamam prapadyante. He could have attained all desires fulfilled in this life and going back home, back to Godhead in the next life. All he had to do was give a set of clothes to Krishna and his friends. But he refused. Because he was seeing things from a material perspective. From a material perspective, Kamsa's the king. And he's going to give material benefits. And he feared the king. And as far as Krishna, he's just a cowherd boy. What's he going to give me? Well, Krishna gave him something. He took his hand and went, psh. With an effortless little motion of his hand, Krishna cut off his head. Yes? He got liberated in another way. Same opportunity. We have a choice. Do we want to be the washerman? Or do we want to be the flower seller? Every moment we have that choice. Do we want to please Krishna? And pleasing Krishna from a material perspective, sometimes it appears we're losing. Think about it. From a material perspective, that flower man, his best flowers, his life's investment, he was about to give it away for nothing. Some chance was there. But he had faith. And the other man, he had so much to fear if he gave those clothes to Krishna. But he wasn't willing to take that chance. Then Krishna walked a little further, and there was a hunchback woman named Kubja, who was Kamsa's personal sandalwood maker. She had made sandalwood pulp with camphor and saffron, and she was bringing it to Kamsa. And Krishna said, "Give me the sandalwood." No, she was just an uneducated hunchback. And she saw Krishna, and she was really risking her life. Can you imagine? Kamsa sent Akrura to bring Krishna and Balaram to kill them. Yes? He already sent so many asuras, from Putana to Trinavarta to Shakatasura, Agasura, Pralambasura. He sent so many asuras, Keshi, Aristasura. That's how much Kamsa hated Krishna. He was very powerful. And now he brought them to Mathura to have Chandura in Mustika destroy them. Can you imagine? Kamsa asks Kubja, "Where is my daily sandalwood?" And she says, "I gave it to Krishna." She was taking a big risk. Krishna said, "Give me the sandalwood." When Krishna wants to give you love of God, he usually packages it in such a way that you have to show some real sincerity. You have to be willing to lose a lot to gain the greatest of all things. The name Hari means one who steals away one's inauspiciousness. The only thing Krishna takes away from us is those things that are inauspicious. He will take away our selfish lust and our arrogance, our envy, our greed, our illusions, our anger, to give us himself. Because unless we allow Krishna to clean our heart by Hari, taking away all these inauspicious anarthas, unwanted things in the heart, we can't really understand our love for him. So Krishna told Kubja, "Give me the sandalwood." And she looked at him, and she just, with full enthusiasm and loving in her heart, she anointed Krishna's body with all Kamsa's sandalwood. And Krishna, because she was a hunchback, she was crooked, Krishna put his toes on her toes. This is very intimate. And then he took her by the face somewhere and lifted, and her back was perfectly straight. In America, there's a science called chiropractic. Yes, where you straighten people's backs. Krishna originated. He originates every science. He did the first gastrointestinal surgery to Hiranyakashipu. He did the first acupuncture on Hiranyaksha with this tusk. He did the first chiropractic on Kubja, and she became absolutely beautiful and perfectly healthy. And she awakened in her heart was Madhurya Ras, love for Krishna. And Krishna reciprocated. He said, I will satisfy all your desires. Just let me do my business first here. So Krishna reciprocates according to our sincerity. And every moment is an opportunity to manifest what we really want in life. And Krishna within the heart is watching and hearing. Are we grateful? Do we want to please him? Or do we have our own separate agenda? In this beautiful verse, we read how the absolute truth is one. But that one supreme absolute truth is eternally accepting the role of two. We read so many descriptions in the Vedas, how Srimati Radharani is manifesting from Krishna. These explanations have to be understood in the context of Leela, because factually we read here that Radha and Krishna are eternally two. So the question is, are they eternally first one and then two? Are they eternally first two and then one? The answer is given here. Achintya. It's inconceivable. We can tax our brains for the rest of eternity. But unless Krishna reveals, nothing could really be understood. Because the absolute truth is beyond the senses, beyond the jurisdiction of the mind or the intelligence. When the jiva is imprisoned within these 8 elements, bhumi, rapo, nalo, vayu, kamanor, buddha, evacha, ahankara, iti yame, bina prakritirashtata. The gross body and senses, comprised of earth, water, fire, air, ether. The subtle body, the mind, the intelligence, the ego. They have no access to comprehending or understanding that which is beyond material creation. The ahankar and the ego that is influenced by the ahankar, the intelligence, can only fathom things within the 8 elements of material existence, where everything is temporary and everything is limited. No matter how scholarly we are, no matter how much we delve deeply, even memorizing the sutras and the slokas of the scriptures, no matter how much our vivek, our discriminative power, can analyze neti, not this, but this, not this, but this. I am not matter. Aham brahmasmi. I am spirit. The intelligence can never, by its own power, understand Brahman, because it's beyond our purview. It's not within the realm of intelligence. Krishna can only be understood when Krishna reveals himself to us by his own sweet will, by his own grace. There simply is no other way. Therefore, faith is a critical step toward realization. Not blind faith, real faith. Because everyone, everywhere, their lives are based on faith. A person goes to work and says, I'm an atheist because I don't want to put my faith blindly in some supreme being. But yet, as you're driving to work, you have faith you're going to get to work. And you have faith you're going to get paid. And you have some faith that there's going to be some happiness with what you get. You don't know for sure. It's based on faith. We have faith in each other. We have faith that we're going to live till tomorrow. So everything is based on faith. Somebody goes to college, the first day they have faith that if they do their studies, they're going to get a degree. So we say, isn't this faith beyond your sensory perception? And they will say, but I have seen so many people who have gone to college and got their degrees. Well, when we study the scriptures and when we read about the histories of the great acharyas and we see enlightened people among us, we realize that there are so many people who put their faith in the spiritual process and they get their degree too. They get Krishna's grace. Adoshrudata sadhu sangota bhajanakriya. Rupa Goswami tells us in the beginning of spiritual life there's a little faith. And that faith brings us to understand that by associate with saintly people, my life can be nourished. And in the association of sadhus, in the association of sincere practitioners of bhakti, that faith becomes very, very strong. Nishtha, through practice. So the inconceivable potency of the Lord, we understand from these great acharyas that the Absolute is one. But for the purpose of love, the Lord is eternally two. Radha, Krishna, Sitaram, Lakshmi Narayan. Krishna is the source of all other avatars, of all other expansions, of all other plenary portions. And similarly, Radha is the source of all goddesses of fortune. She is the Shakti. Interestingly, this concept that Lord Chaitanya taught, Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, He is the very personification of this principle to the highest limits. Lord Chaitanya explained that we are inconceivably simultaneously one with God in quality and different from God in quantity. Like the sun, the ray of the sun is one with the sun. It's not different than the sun, giving heat and light. But in quantity, the ray is only a part, and the sun is the complete whole that contains all rays. Heat and fire. Srila Prabhupada likes to use this example. Heat and fire are simultaneously one and different. You cannot separate heat from fire, but at the same time, heat is different than fire. One is the energy and one is the energetic source. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the two, Radha and Krishna, become one. Inconceivable, simultaneous one and difference. Krishna is the Vishaya. He's the ultimate object of love. And Sri Radharani is Ashraya. She is the ultimate abode of love. She is the supreme source and origin of all love. Just as everything emanates from Krishna, all love emanates from Radha. She is the feminine aspect of the one supreme truth. Here Srila Prabhupada is explaining in purport that this Shakti, the divine potency or energy of the Lord, is Radha. There are three aspects: Sandini, Samvit, Hladini. Sandini is the supreme existence, that which that sustains the entire existence. Samvit is that energy that gives the power to know and be known. And Hladini, the very essence of the pleasure potency of the Lord. Hladini is the power of pleasure. And that pleasure is in prema, it is in love. And Radha's love is so great, so deep, that Krishna wants to understand the nature of Radha's love. Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjana bhavashani chabutani mam tu vedana kashtana. Krishna tells in Gita, I know everything that's happened in the past, all things that are happening now, and everything that is to come. And I know all living beings, but no one can know me in full. That is Krishna, all-knowing. Sarvasya chaham hridisha nivishto matasmiti ragyanam abohanam cha. He is within the heart of every living being. He knows and never forgets any single thought that you have. Any single word that you speak, any action that you do. Krishna not only knows it, knows what you've done, how you've done it, why you've done it. But the scariest part is he never forgets. So there's good reason to fear God. But Krishna tells in Gita, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papibhyo mokshayishami masaj. If you just surrender to me, I'll deliver you from all the thoughts and words and activities that were not according to his desire. Krishna's willing to forget everything. This was exhibited in the Leela of Jagai and Madhai. They were murderers, they were rapists, they were robbers, they were setting people's houses on fire. They were slaughtering animals, drinking liquor, drinking blood. They were cruel, mean. And Lord Chaitanya knew everything they ever did. Even what Yamaraj didn't know, Lord Chaitanya. And Yamaraj knows a lot. But when they humbled themselves to be the servant of the Lord, and in that spirit chanted the holy names, Lord Chaitanya, he took the entire mountain, Himalayan mountain, of all of their past sins and selfishness, and reduced it to the size of a sesame seed, and then just threw it away. Forgotten. And Lord Chaitanya said, forget anything they've done, it doesn't matter. Now they're devotees. Let us dance and chant with them. You see, the power of the Lord's ability to forgive us is a more important feature than the power of the Lord's knowing everything we do and say and never forgetting. And that is the supreme hope that we all have. So Krishna knows everything. But the one thing he wanted to know is what is the nature of Sri Radha's love. The Lord wanted to know, what is the glory of Radha's love? What is it about me that attracts her heart in such a way? And what is the happiness that she experiences when she tastes the sweetness of my love? That was a mystery that even Krishna was exploring to discover the essence of. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that when Krishna he saw a reflection of himself in a jeweled pillar. And when he looked at it, he was totally mesmerized by his own beauty. Now, to attract somebody who has everything, like in this world, if somebody who's relatively poor somehow or other buys a motorbike and comes into his neighborhood, people are really impressed. Oh, you have a motorbike. But if you if you drive up to a billionaire's house with a motorbike, he's not going to be very impressed. He can buy every motorbike in Bombay. Yes. Okay, so let me get a Mercedes Benz. So then you drive into your little neighborhood, people are really impressed. But if you go to the billionaire's house, Mercedes Benz, I have 20 of them. I could buy 1 million of them if I want. So it's hard to impress somebody who has a lot. The little child could play cricket and do his friends, but if he does his little tricks before the national cricket championship team, who won the World Cup a couple years ago, they know how to do all those things. So to impress Krishna, very, very difficult. But when Krishna saw his own reflection in the pillar, he was absolutely mesmerized. I'm so beautiful. I'm infinitely beautiful. And this beauty is ever increasing forever. But when Krishna saw his own beauty, he understood, I can't really appreciate it. Only Radharani really appreciates it. If I really want to understand my beauty, I have to see through the heart of Sri Radha, because she loves me so much. In a very relative, mundane analogy, just like if you do something nice, and you're a little proud of yourself, yes? But what is the experience of your mother when you do something nice? Her heart is just overflooding because she loves you so much, and you do something nice, something that you can't understand. Because love reveals truths about somebody that are a mystery through any other way. So Radharani, who is the supreme lover, Krishna was looking at himself and he was thinking, what does Radha see when she sees me? What is her feeling? When the fragrance of my body enters into a breeze and Sri Radha smells that breeze, she becomes so totally intoxicated that she wants to merge into the breeze. She starts jumping into the breeze. When she sees a tumultuary and remembers my complexion, weeping, hair standing on end, in ecstasy, she embraces again and again and again the tumultuary, thinking it's me. What is the taste of Radha's love? And what does she experience when she tastes my love? The Leela of this beautiful mystery was resolved when Krishna decided to appear within this world with the sentiments of Sri Radha, with the Mahabhav. Radha Bhava Duti Suvalitam Nomi Krishna Swarupam. Who is Lord Chaitanya? The two supreme Radha Krishna have become one. Krishna with the love of Radha to taste the sweetness of Radha's love. And our acharyas tell us that Krishna told Sri Radha that I am going to enter into the world to taste the sweetness of your love with your Mahabhava deep within my heart. And she said, if you're tasting the sweetness of my love in the role of a devotee, then when you chant your names, you're going to feel such ecstasy. Sometimes you're going to jump up into the air and then you're going to crash down into the ground in ecstasy. Sometimes you're going to roll in the ground, and I cannot tolerate the thought of you hurting your body like that. So I am going to cover your body with my complexion to protect you. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna with the beautiful golden complexion of Sri Radha, tasting the sweetness of this ultimate prem, the Mahabhav of Sri Radha. And he's come to distribute Radha's love to the world. The Chaitanya Charitamrita tells us that there are also 3 external reasons why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears. Krishna tells in Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. Abhyutanama dharmasya tadatmanam srijamya. In order to re-establish spiritual principles and annihilate irreligiosity and ignorance, the Lord descends into this world again and again. And Krishna also, in every yuga, he comes as the yuga avatar. That means to present the most powerful, highly recommended process of dharma for the age. When Krishna appeared in Gokul as the son of Nanda and Yashoda, Garga Muni came to perform the name-giving ceremony. Garga Muni was a great Yadu priest, Brahmin, expert at understanding exactly who is who and what is what through astrology and through his vision. Vasudeva sent Garga Muni to secretly perform the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. Nanda Maharaj wanted to take advantage of this situation. But Garga Muni warned him, if I give this name-giving ceremony, and if there's any type of ceremony that people find out about, then Kamsa's going to understand I've come here and he's going to detect some connection between your sons and Vasudeva. So Nanda Maharaj said, let us do it completely secretly and privately in the Goshala. And during that name-giving ceremony, Garga Muni revealed that your son, this little boy, Krishna, he has come many times into this world with different complexions for different purposes. And he explained the Yuga avatars. In Satya Yuga, he appeared in a white complexion to teach the process of meditation. In Treta Yuga, he appears in a red complexion to teach Yajna, the Yuga Dharma. In Dwapara Yuga, he appeared, and in Kali Yuga, he will appear in a golden yellow complexion. And what is the Yuga Dharma for Kali Yuga? The congregational chanting of the holy names. And now he has appeared in this beautiful blackish complexion. The Yuga Dharma of Dwapara Yuga is the worshipping the form of the Lord, deity worship. So in this age of Kali, every age of Kali, the Lord appears as Yuga Avatar to teach this Harinam Sankirtan movement. But very interesting. Only once in a day of Brahma does the Supreme Lord appear in his original form of Krishna to taste the sweetness of Radha's love for the purpose of giving the love of Vrindavan to the people of the world. Kaviraj Goswami tells that the cycle of 4 yugas, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga, that is called the Divya Yuga. 71 Divya Yugas equals 1 Manvantar. 14 Manvantars equal 1 day of Brahma. So there is approximately 1,000 Divya Yugas in a day of Brahma. A day of Brahma is 323 billion. 3 billion, huh? One day. 4 billion, 4,320 million years is one day of Brahma. And then he has the same night. So that means one day and night of Brahma is 8,640 million years. That's a day. And 30 of such days equals one of his months. And 12 of those months equal a year. And he lives 100 years, which is equal to approximately over 3 trillion years. Hare Krishna. Now you think that's a long time. But for Brahma, time passes as fast as it does for you. Things are very relative. So only once in every 8,640 million years does Krishna personally appear in his Vrindavan Leela, in his original form of Sri Nandanandana during the Vaivasvat Manu. And only after Krishna appears in his original form does Lord Chaitanya appear. And when he appears, Krishna in the spirit of Sri Radha's love to distribute that love, the Yuga avatar for that particular time, and all the other incarnations merge with him. This is the Shastric evidence. Sometimes people are a little afraid that I've been worshipping this deva, or I've been worshipping this avatar, or I've been worshipping this form of the Lord. How could I switch over to Krishna? So sometimes, people are afraid, so they don't. And other times, they do, but everybody else, they do at the same time. Because they don't want to take any chances of making any aparads. But Krishna tells, and it describes in Srimad Bhagavatam, if you water the root of the tree, automatically the water goes to every aspect of the tree. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. When Krishna appears within this world, all the various avatars, all the various manifestations, expansions, all the various devas, everyone is contained within Krishna. So that is the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, how it actually took place. Before Lord Chaitanya came to this world, he sent many of his most intimate, loving associates from the spiritual world. They appeared in different places. In the area of Srihata, Upendra Mishra appeared. Upendra Mishra had 7 sons. The third, his name was Jagannath Mishra. Upendra Mishra in Krishna's Leela, according to Gaur Ganadashtapika, is Parjanya, Krishna's grandfather. And Jagannath Mishra is both Nanda Maharaj and Vasudev, as well as Dasarat. and Kashyapa Muni. They were all one and the same as Jagannath Mishra. Also in that area, Murari Gupta appeared, and Chandrasekharacharya, Srivas Thakur and his brothers, and Advaitacharya. In the Chattagang area, Pundarik Vidyanidhi, Mukunda Dutt, Vasudev Dutt. In the Ekachakra area, Nityananda appeared. In the Bhudan area, Haridas Thakur appeared. He was approximately 32 years older than Lord Chaitanya. In Trihuta, Paramananda Puri appeared. And there was great Madhavendra Puri. All these great souls came to this world to prepare for Lord Chaitanya's advent. Advaitacharya was born in Navagram, and he settled on the banks of the Ganges in Shantipur. He also had a house in Navadvip. And Sri Thakur Haridas, he was born in Bhutan. He lived for some time close by in Benapol. And we know the story. Wherever he went, people were against him. Because he was such a wonderful devotee of Krishna, and he attracted so many people to the path of Krishna. He had such deep attraction to the holy name of Krishna. But because he was born in an untouchable family by cell phones are very variegated. It's a modern day Achintya Beta Beta Tattva. One phone could have so many ringers. Sometimes they're going ding, ding. Sometimes they're chanting Maha Mantra. Sometimes they're beautiful ragas. Other times, cinema songs. And the most amazing thing is you can, if you want to hear every type of cell phone, just come to Srimad Bhagavatam class. You will hear so many varieties. But the Srimad Bhagavatam is the transcendental vibration of Krishna calling us. So better we tune into this vibration, and better if you turn off your cell phones. So Thakur Haridas, because of his family that he was born in, people were constantly judging him and condemning him. People were trying to destroy him. They were spreading the worst, terrible, horrible rumors against him, trying to implicate him in scandals that would destroy his reputation. And ultimately he came to Shantipur because he was being rejected everywhere. And there Advaitacharya, who was the very leader of the entire Brahmin community, he welcomed Haridas Thakur with such love and gratitude. It is described that Advaitacharya, he was living amongst so many learned, great people of the highest caste, but he was praying for the association of a pure devotee of the Lord. And when Haridas Thakur came, he recognized this is a pure devotee. And even though Haridas Thakur was, by some people's standards, untouchable, Advaitacharya not only touched him, he embraced him. And he said, I want you to live as close as possible to me. But Haridas was such an austere person, he would live in little huts and caves. So just to please him, Advaitacharya arranged for a beautiful little cave right near the banks of the river Ganga, in Fuliagram, near Shantipur. And every day they would meet. And during the Shraddha Patra, when Advaitacharya was invited in Bengal at that time, this Shraddha was a very, very prominent and also very prestigious event. Just like today, a lot of wealthy people in India, they have marriages, and how they celebrate their marriage is very much prestigious. Someone was just telling me recently, I was in Delhi, and they were saying how, when you get married, or when you marry your daughter, or your son, whatever it may be, it determines so much of the business you're going to get and your livelihood. Because people see your stability, your security, your power, your force, your influence by who's coming and how you're celebrating it and how much food you have. And I don't understand these things. It's so easy being a Swami. But in those days, more than even marriage was for Brahmins, was the Shraddha, who you invite and who's coming and who's... And when Advaitacharya performed it, all the greatest, most powerful, learned Brahmins of the whole area would come for his. He must have had really good prasad too. It's a very prestige thing. Why is this incident so much emphasized in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat? This is a massive statement he was making. Because the basis of Shraddha is he got the best people of Brahmins to come. And who you choose to give the first prasad to is the person that you are honoring as the highest, most qualified, and worshipable of everybody that came. And in front of all these great caste Brahmins, the greatest of the great, he gave the Shraddha Patra first honors to Haridas Thakur. He was fearless. He was a man of essence. And he and Haridas Thakur, they would just spend hours and hours together chanting Hare Krishna and talking about Krishna and crying to see the lamentable condition of the people of Navadvip. You see, Lord Brahma understood that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord, was going to appear in Navadvip. So he created Navadvip in such a way at that time. It was the high seat of learning for the whole of India. The best teachers, the most learned scholars. Places like Mithila and Varanasi, Srirangam, all these places, they could not compare to Navadvip as far as the opportunity to learn scholarship at that time. And because of that, there were literally millions of students flocking to get their degrees in Navadvip. And there was a lot of wealth. But unfortunately, there was so much ego, arrogance, pride, And people were becoming more and more materialistic. They were worshipping snake goddesses for material benedictions. They were worshipping various devas just to somehow or other acquire more powers for a more enjoyable materialistic life. There was constant criticism. People were so egoistic. They were constantly trying to bring themselves up by criticizing others. People were spending huge amounts of money just to impress people so that they could ultimately exploit them. And even powerful Sanskrit scholars were speaking Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, without speaking a single word about bhakti or devotion. It was all interpreted so that people would ultimately learn, according to these scholars, how to have a more enjoyable, abundant material life, or for some, to get some mystical powers, or some liberation and peace. But bhakti and prema was totally ignored, even by the great scholars. And even though the Yuga Dharma is the kirtan of the holy name, nobody would chant the names of the Lord. Except sometimes when they would bathe in the Ganga, they would say Pundarikaksha in some mantra. There was a small group of devotees that were gathered in Navadvip. Srivas Thakur and his brothers Sri Ram, Sri Nidhi, Sri Pati. They lived at the Srivasangam. And there was Murari Gupta and Chandrasekhar. A few of these devotees, they would all gather at Advaitacharya's house every day for several hours. Interestingly, the population of Navadvip, especially the big leaders, they condemned the Vaishnavas. Srivas Thakur would have kirtan in his house. And they considered Srivas and his brothers and the other devotees to be just useless sentimentalists, just making noise, misleading the world. There were so many threats. We should tie up Srivas, tie up his brothers, and throw them at the feet of the king to be punished. We should destroy his house and take the pieces and throw it in the Ganges so he has no place here in this town. The devotees were constantly being criticized, blasphemed. So they would come together at Advaita's house. And while they would feel the ecstasy of chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord together at the same time, they didn't feel intimidated or hateful to the people who were persecuting them or criticizing them. They felt compassion. Srivas and his brothers, they would perform kirtan, weeping and crying, begging Krishna to appear. Because they had no power to affect these people. They were so deeply engrossed in their egos. Haridas Thakur and Advaita, they would speak together, they would chant together, they would pray together, with the fixed motivation of somehow inviting Krishna to appear to deliver these people, to give pure devotional service to this world, which is so bereft in darkness. Sri Advaitacharya, who is Sadashiva, the original Shiva, and Mahavishnu. The original Purusha, who by his exhalation manifests the entire cosmic creation. He took such a humble role. And seeing the lamentable condition out of his sheer compassion for you and me and every living being, he vowed to bring Krishna personally into this world to induce people to chant the holy names. And he was reading the Shastras. It is described that Advaitacharya, he was such a powerful scholar and such a devotee. He would read Vedanta, he would read Upanishads, he would read Mahabharata, he would read the Puranas, he would read the Sutras, every literature. He would explain it exclusively from the terms of unmotivated, uninterrupted love for Krishna, devotion. He came upon a verse in the Gautamiya Tantra which describes that Krishna is, his heart is so kind and compassionate to his devotee that if one with sincere love and devotion just offers some tulsi leaves and water from the Ganga, that Krishna will fulfill that person's desires. So Advaitacharya took that as his heart and soul, and on the bank of the Ganga, for hours and hours every day, he would offer his family Shalagram Shila, Krishna, Ganga water and tulsi leaves and tulsi manjaris, flowers. And as he would offer, he would cry out with tears of compassion for the people of this world. He would cry out for Krishna to come, to descend, to spread the glories of the holy name. Krishna tells in Gita, Patram pushpam palam to yom yome bhakta prayachchati. That if one offers me even a little fruit, a flower, a leaf, or water with devotion, I will accept it. Mahavishnu, he's the husband of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. Bhoktaram yatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. He's the proprietor of all spiritual and material worlds. He could have offered Krishna anything. But he wanted to show us how sacred is the water of the Ganges. How sacred is the leaf of a tulsi. He wasn't building temples, he wasn't building skyscrapers. He was just offering some Ganga water and tulsi with love and devotion. And he was crying out. He was crying out in his compassion for all of us in such a voice that it describes that his prayers pierced through all the layers of material existence and went and could be heard in Goloka Vrindavan by Radha and Krishna. And how Krishna orchestrated this in such a special way to show the unit, to show how much he's pleased by the unity among devotees. It was the unity of the combined devotional efforts, as well as the love and respect that they had for each other, between the highest caste Brahmin and an untouchable, Advaitacharya and Haridas Thakur. It was primarily their united compassion toward the conditioned souls, which was very much based on their love and respect for each other, that attracted the Lord to appear. As Advaitacharya was crying out with tulsi leaves and Ganga water, Haridas Thakur, practically day and night in his little cave, he was crying out the holy names, praying for Krishna to descend, to show mercy to those people of this world. So these are the three external reasons why the Lord appeared. To fulfill his promise in the Gita that he appears again and again, to manifest his form as the Yuga avatar, to spread the glories of the holy name, and to fulfill the wish and the prayers of Advaitacharya. Krishna wanted to show that he manifests through the compassion of his devotees. And that is an eternal principle. Srila Prabhupada, through his compassion, his prayers were very much like Advaitacharya's. He was on Jaladuta. He didn't even have tulsi leaves. He didn't even have Ganges water. Just Atlantic Ocean water. Salty water. That's all that was there. But in the same mood as Advaitacharya, he prayed. Krishna, please appear. Appear through my words to reach these people's hearts. Due to the modes of passion and ignorance, people are so enthusiastic to try to make their material life better, but in the process become so implicated and bound by karma. And they have forgotten the real treasure of life. They have forgotten you, my Lord. I have no power to help them. That's what Advaita was saying. I have no power to help them. Only if you come, Krishna, only is it possible. Only through your words, only through your grace, only through your mercy can these people be delivered. So just as the Lord appeared by the calls and the compassion of Advaita, similarly the Lord appears in our lives through the compassion of the great souls. Srila Prabhupada. The Lord appeared to all of us through his prayers of compassion. And all he's asked us to do is be instruments of that compassion to others in this world. So it is described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita that Jagannath Mishra was living in Navadvip. And he happened to meet another very, very great empowered Brahmin named Nilambar Chakravarti, who happened to be an incarnation of Gargamuni from Krishna's Leela. And Jagannath Mishra married his daughter, whose name is Sachi Devi. Sachi Devi is Yashoda and Devaki in Krishna's Leela. By the Lord's will, they had a deep, burning desire to have a child. The Lord's will manifests through the heart and the desire of His pure devotees. So they had a child, beautiful daughter, but just after birth, the girl died. Sometime later, they had another little girl. She died. 8 consecutive, beautiful, little, lovely infant girls died. It was very tragic for them, and it was very tragic for everybody around them. But they wanted to have these children as offerings to Krishna. It wasn't simply for them. But all of their efforts were apparent failures. It's a very good lesson for us. It's not that if we have some very, very important service we want to render, that because we're doing it for Krishna, that everything's going to go exactly according to our plan. Didn't happen that way with Devaki and Vasudev. And it certainly didn't happen that way for Jagannath Mishra and Sachi Devi. Pure devotional service, awakening Krishna in our hearts, is not a cheap thing. So they performed very, very special puja and did incredible worship of the Lord because they wanted a child to raise for Krishna's purpose, for Krishna's pleasure. And then they had a child. He was a manifestation of Lord Balaram. His name was Vishwarup. He was such a beautiful child. He had such extraordinary good qualities, and he lived. It was in the year 1406 from the Shakta era, or 1485 by our calendar, in the month of Magh, that Krishna entered into the heart of Jagannath Mishra. And from the heart of Jagannath Mishra, Chaitanya Charitamrita explains, just as the light of the sun is transferred to illuminate the moon, from the heart of Jagannath Mishra, the Supreme Lord Krishna transferred to the heart of Sachi Devi. And from her heart, the Lord entered into her womb. From that time, Sachi Devi became so beautiful, so effulgent. And all these incredible things started happening. Jagannath Mishra would walk down the street and people would start giving him bananas and giving him rice paddies and giving him all sorts of gifts of coconuts. And he told Sachi Devi, people are so generous. Everyone's giving me things. And Sachi Devi said, well, sometimes I look up into the sky. In outer space, I see these beautiful, ornamented, loving people offering prayers to the child in my womb. And Jagannath Mishra said, I see the same thing. And they came to the conclusion, there's a special child that has come. It was Krishna. With the love of Sri Radha, the combined avatar of Radha and Krishna was within the womb of Sachi Devi. 13 months passed, and the child was not born. So Jagannath Mishra and Sachidev were becoming very, very concerned. After all, they already had 8 children die. So they went to Nilambar Chakravarti, and they asked him if he could do an astrological calculation of what's happening. I think children are usually born in 9 months. Is that correct? I don't remember personally. That was... ...61 years ago. I don't think I was counting the months at that time anyway. 13 months passed. Nothing. So Nilambar Chakravarti, he did a calculation, and not only calculation, but by his own mystical power to see. Because you see, to be a good astrologer, it's not just a matter of calculation. Actually, the Lord within the heart, the Paramatma, has to give you the intelligence to really see what's there. Just like Srila Prabhupada would sometimes say, astrology is a perfect science, but there aren't many good astrologers. To really understand it well, there has to be a deep intuitive power given by God Himself. So Nilambar Chakravarti was really a supremely expert astrologer. And he said, this child is not an ordinary child. This child has the power to nourish the universe. This child is waiting for the most auspicious possible time to be born. And it will happen in this coming month. Interestingly, the Lord created the most auspicious situation during an inauspicious time. It was in the month of Phalgun, in the year 1486, that there was a lunar eclipse on the full moon night. And during that lunar eclipse, people were so afraid that their material life and their material efforts would be contaminated by inauspiciousness. They wanted to somehow or other protect themselves from it. So all the Hindus, they went into the Ganges or into some other body of water and loudly cried out the names of Lord Hari. Somebody told me traditionally in Bengal, so many people during life when they want materialistic things, they worship a demigod. But when there's really an emergency or a disaster, if somebody's on the verge of death, then they chant the names of Hari. So this is an emergency, this is an impending disaster. So they were loudly crying out the names Hari Hari. Hari Hari! And not only that, but Krishna, who is within the hearts of every living being, induced them all to really, really sincerely, everybody was running to the Ganges to protect themselves from inauspiciousness. They all raised their arms very high and cried out the names Hari Hari. Hari Hari! Hari Hari! Hari Hari! And when the devotees saw this, Srivas Thakur looked at the other Vaishnavas and said, finally, they're chanting Hari's names.
let this eclipse last forever. And Thakur Haridas and Advaita Acharya, they saw everybody all around chanting the Hari Hari. Hari! And they were dancing and singing together. This is beautiful, this is beautiful. And while all directions were filled with the chanting of the holy names, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, appeared from the womb of Mother Sachi Devi. The symbolism of this is so instructive, that Krishna is not different than his name. And the name of the Lord is the sound vibration that accesses the grace of the Lord, and through that grace the Lord appears to us. Draupadi, she was in an inauspicious situation. Her chastity was about to be eclipsed. When she was in that assembly in the Kuru dynasty, Duryodhana had Dushasana drag her into the assembly by the hair and ordered him to strip her naked. Most inauspicious thing that could possibly happen to her, worse than death, to be humiliated in this way by cruel, lusty men. It was a total rape of her character and her dignity. Absolute abuse. She turned to her husbands, but they were helpless. All they could do is look down to the ground in total shame, because they had become the property of Duryodhana. She looked toward the throne. They just looked away from her. She looked toward all the people around, these great heroes and warriors. And either because they were intimidated by fear, or because they were depending on the favors of Duryodhana, they all looked down in shame. And Dushasana, he was staring at her with such lust and anger. He started to pull her sari. Draupadi, she looked at everybody around and chastised them severely. You are all cowards. You all have no character. How could you allow this to happen? But her words fell on deaf ears. And then Dushasana, whose arms had the strength of hundreds of elephants, pulled her sari. At that point, although she was trying to protect herself, she realized it was helpless. And when he took that final pull with all of his strength, she lifted her arms high in the air, like this. Everyone. And she wasn't half sleeping during her japa. She wasn't thinking about, this person said to me something then, and I'm hungry. I have an appointment in 10 minutes. Her arms were raised, and from the very core of her heart, she cried out in total dependence on the mercy of Krishna. She cried out, "Hey Krishna! Hey Govinda! Hey Krishna! Hey Govinda! Hey Krishna! Hey Govinda! Krishna, who ordinarily does not involve himself in mundane activities in this material world. He lets his external energies take care of that. Because she called out his name with such humility, with such faith, with such absolute devotion, in such a sense of Sharanagati. Sharanagati is the very essence of Dharma. Sarva dharman parityasya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayisami machucha. When Krishna says abandon all varieties of Dharma, he doesn't mean we should neglect them. What he means is they are all meant for the purpose of going to the essence. And if you don't go to the essence, you've missed the whole point of all Dharma. The essence is Sharanagati, to take shelter, to actually surrender. Surrender is to understand the urgency, the need. What does it mean to take shelter? That is a spirit. If there's a tiny little drizzle and you don't have an umbrella and you go under some roof, are you really taking shelter? Like, it's a little drizzle, I'll go under. But if it's torrents and lightning and you run for shelter, yes? Or you're walking in a field and you see some ants, so you kind of step away from them. And then a cobra lifts his hood and looks you right in the eyes, and his tongue is flittering in and out, and he goes, "Tss." Then you need shelter, yes? So Sharanagati means to really give your heart because you feel a need, to really seek shelter. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his book Sharanagati, he's so many beautiful songs. And in one he's explaining, my dear Lord, in the entire 14 worlds, there's no other shelter but your holy name. Yes, if with the same fixed focus on Krishna, Sri Krishna Sharanam Mam, Sripad Vallabhacharya gave this prayer. Krishna is my only shelter. Krishna is the supreme shelter from everything and anything that is inauspicious. And ultimately, Krishna's love is the shelter of happiness that we are all seeking. You see, Draupadi at that point, she was not praying, Krishna, destroy Dushasana. She was practically, when she raised her arms and she cried out, Hey Krishna, Hey Govinda, her mood was, Krishna, I am yours. Bhaktivinoda Thakur prays, Maro birako vi jo icha tohar, Krishna, if you want, you can kill me. If you like, you can protect me. I'm yours. I'm your servant. You could do anything and everything you want with me. Manaso deho geho jo kichu mor arpilun tu alpade nanda kishore. My body, my mind, my home, my family, all of my knowledge and abilities, everything belongs to you, Sri Nandanandana. I'm yours. Ashlisyava padiratam panashramam darshanam maramahatam kurotuva tatatatom lampato matpurananatastu se eva napara. Lord Chaitanya taught this. My Lord, if you want, you can embrace me. If you want, you can trample on me. Or if you want, you can make me broken-hearted by not being present before me. Any way you want. I am your servant unconditionally. This is Sharanagati. It was in this spirit. Draupadi had nothing else but Krishna. Tvai me nanya vishaya matir madhupate sukrit. Her mother-in-law, Kunti, was later to offer this prayer. As the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be forever drawn only to you, without being diverted to anything or anyone else. It was in this spirit that Draupadi raised her arms and cried out, Hey Krishna! Hey Krishna! Krishna was inducing all the people of Navadvip from within their hearts to be crying out Krishna's names, sincerely. And it was at that most auspicious time, which was invoked by inauspiciousness, that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared within this world. On this day of Gaur Purnima, the most holy of all holy days, the day which invokes the greatest hope and the greatest opportunity in all of creation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give the love of Sri Radha to the people of this world. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that Krishna was thinking that throughout the world I am worshipped as God, as the supreme, all-powerful controller of all controllers, as the omnipresent, omniscient creator, maintainer, and destroyer of all existence. But nothing pleases my heart more than love that is not crippled by this reverential attitude. Love that is above and beyond that, with the intimacy of the residents of Vrindavan. Yashoda Mai, she loves me as a mother, and she will bind me up with a rope. And the Gopas, they will wrestle with me, and they will make me carry them on my shoulders to show the world that they defeated me. And the Gopis, they will give me the highest pleasure by rebuking me with harsh words. Because it is an expression of the most deep intimacy of love. Radhanath Das Goswami explains that Krishna said that even the most learned, pure-hearted Brahmins who chant prayers from the Vedas and Upanishads do not give Krishna as much pleasure as when the ladies of Vrindavan chastise him for his naughtiness. It's not that the love of Vrindavan is ignorance of God's supremacy. They have absolute full knowledge of God's supremacy. But beyond that, highest liberated state, Yoga Maya. Yoga Maya puts their understanding of Krishna's supreme powerful position in the background and puts his sweetness, his beauty, his playfulness totally in the foreground. And therefore they could love him as a friend, as a child, or as a lover. Lord Chaitanya, as Krishna, was thinking, I will descend into this world in the role of my own devotee, Sri Radha, to distribute her love everywhere. The love of the intimate sweetness of Vrindavan. That is the benediction that takes place on this day of Gaur Purnima. When a little boy was born, the news spread, and Srivas Thakur, his wife Malini, and Chandrasekhar and Malati, his wife, they all came to offer gifts and pujas and to perform kirtan for the pleasure of this little baby. And when they saw his beauty, they loved this child with the same exact love that they had for Krishna in their hearts, but they couldn't understand that he was Krishna. And interestingly, as soon as Lord Chaitanya was born, many miles away in Shantipur, Advaitacharya and Haridas Thakur, they felt a surge of ecstasy in their hearts. It wasn't like there was some flash news bulletin, the Lord is born. Today you have on internets and on televisions these flash news bulletins that interrupt the show and say, this just happened. They didn't need those things. They were so tuned in to Krishna in their hearts. They got this flash ecstatic update that the Supreme Lord had descended. The moment Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared from Sachi Devi's womb, Lord Advaitacharya and Haridas Thakur felt so much love surging in their hearts, the fulfillment of all their prayers. They danced, they leapt in the air, they were weeping, they were crying, their hairs were standing on end, they were embracing each other madly in front of everybody. And nobody could understand, what are they doing? Here's a great Brahmin and an untouchable, and they're embracing, and they're crying, and they're falling on the ground, and they're rolling, and they're screaming, and they're jumping, and they're chanting the holy names. And an Ekachakra, little Nitai, he understood what happened. And the moment Lord Chaitanya appeared, Nityananda Balaramji, in ecstasy, roared. Little boy, he was only about 12, 13 years old. He roared. And when he roared, the entire universe shook. And people were wondering, what was that? Everyone was celebrating in a special way as the Lord appeared. Sita Thakurani was sent by Advaita to honor the child. Sita is Advaita's wife. She came on a beautiful palanquin, carried all the way from Shantipur. And she brought gold, silver, jeweled ornaments. And she massaged his body with turmeric and vermilion and other types, sandalwood and keshar and various auspicious ointments. She performed pujas. And Srila Prabhupada explained what a beautiful culture. That when a baby's born, so much auspiciousness, sweet fragrances of musk and sandalwood, mixed in with various natural dyes and turmerics, which is very, very good for the health of the child and very pleasing to the child. And they do all sorts of pujas for the child. Just to invoke God's blessings. Srila Prabhupada says today children are born in the hospital and they're just covered with some antiseptic and that's it. It's the end of the puja. I'm not speaking against that because we have Bhaktivedanta Hospital, they probably do this. I never watched. They may do the same things. I don't know. Just give a little antiseptic. But it just shows how deep and sensitive the culture was in that time. And when Sita Thakurani was offering all of these blessings upon the child, she looked at him. And just like all the other ladies who were around her, they all had the same thought. He looks just like Gopal. Identical to Krishna with a golden complexion. So Sita Thakurani gave him the name Gaur Hari. Lord Hari, who has come in a golden complexion. And different people started giving Nimai different names. Because he was born under a neem tree. And because the neem tree is very auspicious. Srila Prabhupada explains the extract of the neem leaves is an Ayurvedic cure for leprosy. It also repels mosquitoes. And it's good, Dr. Awa could give us a whole lecture about the advantages of neem. It's good for the teeth also. But traditionally, ghosts and evil spirits are afraid and repelled by the neem tree. And because 8 children had already died of Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, in order to protect this beautiful newborn child who was born under the neem tree, Sachi Devi gave him the name Nimai. The neighboring ladies, Gaur Hari. The child was born. And the little baby, like other babies, sometimes would cry. And because everybody loved this child so much, it was Krishna. Parikshit Maharaj asked Shukadev Goswami, how is it possible? It's against human nature to love another person's child more than you love your own child. It's simply biologically illogical. By illogical. It's by illogically illogical. Thank you, thank you. But yet it describes in Krishna Lila, everybody loved Krishna more than their own children. And in the same way, in Navadvip, everybody, all the devotees, they loved Nimai more than they loved their own children. They loved Nimai more than they loved their homes. They loved Nimai more than they loved their own lives. Spontaneously, naturally, because he's all attractive. He's the ultimate object of everyone's love. So to see the Lord crying was worse than death. And to please the Lord was the most precious and pleasurable thing in all in life. So the child would cry, and he wouldn't stop crying until somebody chanted the names of the Lord. And as soon as they chanted, he would smile. Oh, what a smile. He was pleased. His smile was more beaming than hundreds of millions of suns. When he looked at you with pleasure and smile, even though he was only a 1 or 2 day-old baby, it filled your heart with ecstatic bliss. It was God smiling at you. God showing his pleasure. God beaming his love upon you. Then he would cry. And they would all come together and chant to make him smile. And this became the pastime of all the ladies. I guess the men, they had to go out and do their pujas and all their work, but ladies were very fortunate. They just waited for Lord Nimai. They just played with him, and as soon as he'd cry, they would all raise their arms blissfully and cry out Krishna's holy name. From the moment of his birth, he induced everyone to chant. And as a little baby, he was giving people a preview of his mission of descending into this world. To inspire people to chant the names of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya offered this beautiful prayer, Nam Nam Akari Bahuta Nija Sarva Shaktish Tatrapi Nanyamita Smaranena Kala. That Krishna is fully present within the name. All of his powers, all of his sweetness, all of his love is within the name. Namachintamani Krishna's Chaitanya Rasvikra. Krishna is personally, fully present. It's not that Krishna's just in his name. Krishna is his name. Shabda Brahma. Krishna is personally incarnation through transcendental sound vibration. Golokera Premadana Harinam Sankirtan. That the holy name is Krishna and Radha, Hare Krishna, that has descended in the form of this Maha Mantra from the spiritual world of Goloka into this world. Haridas Thakur asked Lord Chaitanya, what is or actually it was asked to Haridas Thakur, what is the ultimate perfection one can achieve by chanting the holy names? Why do we chant? Haridas Thakur said, material benefits, mystic powers, and liberations are insignificant. The real benediction of chanting of the holy names is Krishna Prem. The highest liberation, ecstatic love for Krishna. The Lord descended to give that ecstatic love for Krishna through the chanting of the holy name. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami tells us that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with a garland. He took prema, ecstatic love of God, like flowers, and strung it on the string of the holy name, Harinam. And he came to put this garland around the entire world. He came with his associates, the Panchatattva, to plunder the storehouse of ecstatic love of God and taste the sweetness of that love and distribute it profusely to everyone and anyone, whoever will accept it. And how are they profusely distributing it? Through the Harinam chanting of the Lord's name. Nilambar Chakravarti performed the name-giving ceremony with the Lord and his relatives. And at that time, according to the calculations he did with the horoscope, he said, this child, he has descended into this world to nourish the entire universe with love of God. Therefore, I give him the name Vishwambar. And at that time, one pilgrim Brahmin happened to come into the room, and he explained his vision and his calculation. That this child is going to inundate the world with the perfection of life. He went on and on with the beautiful characteristics of what Nimai would do for the future. But the one thing he didn't tell his parents, he went to a whole description of what Nimai was going, who he is, and what he's going to bestow upon humanity. But he didn't talk about how he was going to take sannyas, because he didn't want to ruin the happiness of everyone. And Jagannath Mishra, hearing these beautiful prophecies of his child, is honored and worshipped and gave so many gifts to this Brahmin. And they, during the name-giving ceremony, they put money, grains, weapons, and all different types of paraphernalia that indicate a person's inclinations for the future. And little Nimai, they said, now Nimai, choose whatever you are most inclined for. And he did not look at anything else. There were all kinds of trinkets, toys, this, that, money, coins. You know, little kids like to play with coins. They don't know their value, but they like. Nimai just crawled right to Srimad Bhagavatam and wrapped his arms around the Bhagavatam, and in great, great emotion he embraced it. So everyone was very happy to see. He was the very personification of Srimad Bhagavatam. That was during the first grains that was happening. And one day when Nimai was just still crawling around, enchanting everyone's hearts, He was in the courtyard of Sachimata's house. And a gigantic, extremely ferocious-looking serpent happened to crawl into the yard. And right in front of everybody, little Nimai grabbed the tail of the snake. And suddenly the snake wrapped himself around Nimai's body. And then the snake made a coiled up on the ground. And Nimai laid on top of him and smiled. Sachi Devi, Jagannath Mishra, all their relatives and friends, when they saw little Nimai, he was just a few months old, laying on the coils of this monstrous serpent, they were afraid to come too close, because if they disturbed the snake, he might eat the child, or bite the child, or strangle the child. So they kept distance. They felt totally helpless. Now please understand that when we hear these pastimes, if we really want to get the effect, we have to enter the pastime. Not just like an observer. If you're a mother and father, if you had a little baby child that you love more than your own life, and that child, you happen to see him laying in the coils of a deadly snake, would you just be sitting in class smiling, thinking, oh, that's nice? That's quite interesting. What would your emotion be? Now, please understand, Nimai, let him be your child for now. He's your child. And you love him infinitely more than you love any of your own children. Is that possible? Yes. Nimai is your child. You're Jagannath Mishra. Even brahmacharis, you could play this. No danger. You're all Jagannath Mishras and Sachi Devis, and your own beloved little child Nimai you're seeing, and you don't know he's God. You know, now you're thinking, oh, he'll do healing. We already know the story. No, if we really want prema bhakti, we have to enter into these leelas. You love him so dearly, and he's laying on a snake, and he's only a helpless little child. His fingers are so tiny and so... His fingers are so delicate, they appear if you breathe on them, they may break. And he's smiling. They didn't want to come too close. They didn't know what to do. All they did is they remembered that Garuda is the special devotee of the Lord that likes to get snakes. So they all cried out from their heart of hearts, praying for the Lord to be saved. Here he was, the Lord of their life, and it appeared that he was about to die. How much do you love your own life? Well, we love Nimai millions and billions and trillions of quadrillions of times more than our own life. If your life is in danger, at risk, what is your emotion? Multiply by that infinitely. Nimai's life is at risk. And to invoke the Lord's protection, the Lord's blessing, they cried out for the Lord's devotee Garuda to save him. And they were crying out with tears of anguish in their hearts. Garuda, Garuda! Garuda! You're You're not in the pastime. I think you must be thinking about when is the moon going to rise, because we... so we could break our fast. Garuda, Garuda! Garuda, Garuda! Garuda, Garuda! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna! Krishna, Krishna, Hare! Much louder, please. Nimai's in the coils of a snake. Please understand that we are all now much more desperate than Draupadi was. What they didn't know is that this was Anantashesha, who was coming to play with the Lord, his beloved. It was Balar, it was Nityananda. Nityananda Balaram expanded himself in this form to get the association and do some seva for Gaur Hari. But they were thinking he was a monstrous, horrible snake. So Anantashesha saw that he was causing all the devotees so much fear and anxiety. So he uncoiled himself and slithered away to leave the place. And as he was slithering away, Nimai was chasing after him to grab his tail. But the relatives, as soon as they saw Nimai, they ran fast and scooped up little Nimai and picked him up and put him in the arms of Sachimata. Oh, Krishna saved our child. Krishna saved him. And meanwhile, as they were all chanting mantras to protect him and just in such relief, thanking God, Nimai kept crawling off Sachi, running after the snake, and they ran back. Vrindavan Das Thakur tells anyone who hears this story with faith and devotion will be forever liberated from the snake of birth and death. Hare Krishna. Nimai would induce all the young ladies and old ladies, all ladies of all ages, to sing the holy names. And when he just started to learn to walk, he would start dancing as they would chant. They would tell him, Nimai, dance, and he would dance. And they would chant, and he would dance, and they would chant, and he would dance. In this way, he was like their little puppet. The Supreme Lord, the controller of all controllers. And he's totally under the control of these ladies. Dance, dance, Nimai. For their pleasure. And they would be laughing and laughing and laughing. And then you know what he did? Even though he just was learning walking. It describes that when he was first learning walking, he would hold on to a wall to try to balance himself like this. And his parents would be watching, and he would be smiling, showing, I'm learning. And then he would let go of the wall, and then he'd fall down. And he'd start crying, and they'd all start chanting the holy names like this. And then he would again hold on to the wall and let go and fall and cry, and everyone would chant, and he would smile, and eventually he learned how to walk on his own 2 tiny little lotus feet. Those little lotus feet, when he was just an infant child, before he even learned how to crawl, he was in a room, and Sachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra in another room, and all of a sudden they heard all this noise, because Nimai got up and broke every pot in the house and was throwing everything in the kitchen on the floor. And when they came in, they saw, because he didn't even know how to, he was just a few weeks old. He was still sitting there. And they saw everything around him. How is this possible? Then they saw these little footprints. You know what they thought? They thought that some demon was trying to hurt Nimai. But because Nimai was so pious, he couldn't hurt him, so the demon ruined everything in the house. And one day they heard little ankle bells jingling. Where's that coming from? And they saw footprints with all the signs of Krishna on the footprints. And Jagannath Mishra said, "Did you put ankle bells on Nimai today?" She said, "No, I didn't put ankle bells, but there's ankle bells jingling." So they went and they saw little Nimai with no ankle bells. And she picked him up to feed him milk. And as she was feeding him milk, she looked on his feet and she saw the same footprints on his feet. So as little Nimai was getting all the ladies to chant the holy names, and now he was walking and he was dancing for them, he would run out of the house onto the street of Navadvip, all alone, little boy. And he would beg people to give him bananas and coconuts. And he only had tiny little hands, so he could only hold 1 or 2 bananas at a time. So he'd go out, he'd beg for some bananas, and he'd run back, and for the ladies who were chanting for him, he'd give a banana. Then he'd run out and get a coconut and come and give another one a coconut. Then he'd run out and get some fused rice and give another one some fused rice. In this way, he was just pleasing their hearts so much. These were the same ladies who in previous avatar were gopis in Vrindavan. And in his previous avatar, Krishna was stealing butter and yogurt and ghee and everything from the gopis. But this time, he was going out and begging people and then carrying it back to give them gifts of luscious foods, to reciprocate with their love, and to show the world how much he is obliged to give the ultimate fruit, the ripened fruit of prema to anyone who pleases him by sincerely chanting his holy names. One day little Nimai was just tiny little boy, just walking. He was roaming around, and 2 thieves happened to see him. And that day, Sachi Devi decorated him with beautiful ornaments, some with gold and jewels and silver. And can you imagine if you're a vicious thief and you see a tiny little boy with gold and silver jewelry? This is it. Our worshipable goddess is fulfilling all our desires. But there were people all around, so they couldn't. According to Srila Prabhupada, their plan was to kill the child, to take him to a secret, secluded place, their hideout, kill him, and then take all the jewels. But somehow or other, they had to get him away from all these crowds. So they took some sandesh and said, little boy, eat the sandesh. We'll give you a ride. We'll take you home. And the little boy said, yes. So he got on, they put him on their shoulders, and they kept giving him sandesh, and he was just eating the sandesh one after another, riding on the back of their shoulders. And meanwhile, all these crowds of people were around, and they were saying, little boy, we're taking you home. And he's saying, yes. And they, with such evil intentions. Now in Krishna Lila, we know the story of Trinavarta. He was a whirlwind sent by Kamsa who took Krishna for a ride. But he didn't give Krishna sandesh. He took him higher and higher into the sky, but Krishna enjoyed the ride, and ultimately he liberated Trinavarta. So Krishna was just smiling and laughing and enjoying and taking a nice ride by these thieves and eating sandesh. And they were under the influence of Yoga Maya. They thought they had come to their hideout where they were about to perform the deed of robbing the little boy. And they put him down. Little did they know that they were right in front of Nimai's house. In the meanwhile, Sachi Devi, Jagannath Mishra, and all the friends, Chandrasekhar, Malini, they were all looking everywhere for Nimai. Where is he? Where is he? They were asking people, have you seen him? Have you seen him? No, we haven't seen him. A long time went by, they couldn't find him anywhere. They were looking in all directions. They all returned still. They didn't know if he was alive or dead. They didn't know where else to look. They were all just sitting in the courtyard, weeping and crying in total anguish. Where is Nimai? What? He's gone. And suddenly, these two thieves come, and they put Nimai down, and he runs right through the courtyard, right into Sachi Devi's arms. And Jagannath Mishra, oh, he's back. And the thief, they were looking around. This isn't our hideout. This is Nimai's house. How did we get here? What happened? So they very discreetly saw that everyone was so much celebrating Nimai's arrival, nobody was looking at them, so they very, very discreetly ran away as fast as they could. And Jagannath Mishra asked Nimai, what happened? Where were you? And Nimai said, I was roaming through Navadvip and I got totally lost, and these two nice men, they picked me up and they carried me back home. And Jagannath Mishra said, well, we will give them a beautiful silken turban as an award to honor them. But then they couldn't find them anywhere. One who hears this story with faith gets the benediction of firm devotional service. And Gaur Hari, just as the thieves tried to steal Hari, tried to steal he who steals. And what was the result of those who tried to steal he who steals? By giving him a ride, Krishna saw the good in it. And by giving him sandesh, patram pushpam palam toyam, they were offering him sweets. Imagine, great Brahmins, when you offer Naivedha to the Lord, you cook it in a certain way, you offer it with mantra and tantra and yantra and muja and puja. They didn't offer any mantras. They didn't, what is the mantra for offering food? They weren't going, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanitaya Chachagarataya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namo. They were just, he was accepting their offering. And because he accepted their offering, he stole their hearts. And ultimately gave those thieves the highest perfection of love of God. One day, little Nimai was given by his mother some nice sandesh and fused rice and some shredded coconut and very, very nice tasty things to eat. And then she went to perform some chores. She came back and she saw that Nimai just left the whole plate of the sweets and the coconuts and the rice, and he was eating dirt. Sachimata was beside herself with grief. She said, Nimai, why are you eating dirt? I've given you all these nutritious sweetmeats. Why are you eating dirt? And little Nimai looked at her. By this time he learned how to talk very sweet, broken words. He said, Mother, there's no difference between dirt and sweetmeats and rice. Because after all, sweets and rice are all coming from dirt. So why should I discriminate between dirt and these things? It's all one. So I'm eating dirt. Sachi Devi said, where did you hear this crazy philosophy? This philosophy that everything is one. I said, no, everything's one. Dirt, sweets, rice, one. She said, it may be true that they're one, that everything is coming from the dirt, but they're not one also. Because if you take dirt and make it into a clay pot, then you could put water in the pot and carry the water. But if you put water and dirt, it just becomes mud and you can't, it's just a mess. Similarly, if you eat these sweetmeats and rice, you will become nourished and healthy. And if you eat dirt, you are going to get diseased and you may die. So although they are one, and they have an origin of similar elements, they are also different. This is practical. Srila Prabhupada explains herein that this Mayavad philosophy of everything being one is impractical. Lord Chaitanya, through his mother, was teaching him the concept of achintya beda beda tattva, simultaneous one and difference. Yes, everything is one because everything's origin is the absolute truth. Janmadya shayataha, the Vedanta Sutra tells. Everything emanates from the absolute truth. Parashya shaktir vivadaiva shruyate. But the absolute truth has multifarious energies. The distinction of the variegatedness within the oneness is what facilitates bhakti and prema. We are eternally one with God. Mamaivam so jivaloke jivabhuta sanatana. We are, according to Gita, the fragmental, non-different parts of Krishna. Jivera swarupor krishnera nityadas. But it is the nature of the part to serve the whole. we are eternally one with Krishna, but in the role of eternal loving servants of Krishna. We are eternally one with each other. We are of the same substance and of the same origin. But yet we are all individual. Natvevaham jatunasam natvam me janadava. Krishna tells in Gita, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us ever cease to be. Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitananam eko bahunam yovidadati kaman. There is one supreme eternal, and there are infinite eternals who are all subordinate eternally to that one supreme eternal. The variegatedness in the spiritual platform is not to make us less than God. Why would God do that? In the sense that God expands himself into infinite jivas. The spiritual purpose of the variegatedness of our being an infinitesimal part of God is to facilitate eternal, supremely blissful love for Krishna. Krishna's infinite love to each of his parts and parcels, and the infinite parcels' love for Krishna. The dynamics of that prema is the highest revelation of the absolute truth. Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. When Sachi Devi, simple mother, explained the practical value of this philosophy in such simple terms that if you eat this nice sweets, you're going to become healthy, and if you eat dirt, you're going to be diseased. Who told you this crazy philosophy? It's one. It's one, but it's different. Simultaneously. And when Nimai heard this, he smiled and said, thank you for this very practical philosophy. Then he crawled on her lap and said, from now on, I'm just going to drink the milk from your breast. And she gave him her milk, and he drank it, and he smiled very happily. One day, a Brahmin who was on pilgrimage came to the house of Jagannath Mishra. And when Jagannath Mishra saw him, he was so grateful. This Brahmin, he was such a pure-hearted devotee, he had a deity of Gopal that he carried around his neck. And he was constantly remembering Gopal, constantly chanting the names of Gopal, and everything he would eat, he would offering it love to Gopal. He had no home. He just wandered about as a sadhu. Jagannath Mishra said, you have blessed our home. It is the greatest fortune, the greatest wealth of a householder for a sadhu, a pilgrim like you to come to bless us. Please come in and prepare a meal. And the Brahmin said, I just take some fruits and roots, that's what I usually eat. And Jagannath Mishra said, no, we will arrange all nice vegetables and rice, and you cook, because he knew that he only cooked for himself. They would have cooked for him, but he would only eat what he personally cooked for his deity of Gopal. So he said, all right. So they brought all nice preparation and cleaned the whole kitchen, and he cooked and prepared, and he took his deity of Gopal and made the offering. He chanted his loving mantras from his heart. Gopal, please accept this food. And just at that moment, little Nimai ran up to the plate, picked up a handful of rice, and put it in his mouth, and blissfully chewed on it. And the Brahmin was entranced, closing his eyes, praying for Gopal to accept the offerings. And when he opened his eyes, right in front of his face was this boy eating the offering. This never happened to that Brahmin before. Shocked, he cried out, "Hi, hi! The offering was spoiled." Jagannath Mishra came running up. "What's happening? What's happening? Why you screamed out like this?" He said, "This little boy has spoiled my offering. While I'm offering it to Gopal, he's eating it." And Gopal and Nimai smiled very blissfully and ran away. Jagannath Mishra picked up a stick. He said, "Nimai, why have you done? I must teach you." And Nimai ran, and Jagannath Mishra ran, and Nimai ran, and the Brahmin caught Jagannath Mishra by the arm. He said, No, he's just a tiny little inexperienced child. He doesn't know better. Don't punish him, please. It's my destiny not to eat rice today. Just give me some fruits and roots." Jagannath Mishra begged him, "Please cook again. We will clean the whole kitchen, we'll get a whole new variety of bhoga, and you cook again and offer it to Gopal." He said, No, too much. He said, "Please, please, please." And everybody in the house made a circle around him, all the ladies and all the men and all the relatives. "Please cook again." He said, "All right." And Jagannath Mishra told the ladies, "You make sure that Nimai doesn't get near this offering." So Nimai was taken outside of the house, and they were all playing with Nimai while the Brahmin was cooking, and then he made up the plate, and he was about to make the offering, and the ladies were saying to Nimai, "Why did you? Don't you know? You don't even know who this person is. You don't even know where he's from. How? You're a Brahmin. How can you just eat food from somebody you don't even know?" And Nimai said, "I'm a cowherd boy. Cowherd boys always like to eat food cooked by Brahmins." And they smiled and they laughed. "What is he talking? Such tricky words," he says. And he got them laughing and smiling. He was telling jokes and he was doing all nice little dances that made them so totally enchanted, they completely forgot what was happening and where they were, anything. And Nimai snuck away, and they didn't even see that he left them. And he came right while he was offering. Namo Brahmanya Devaya, begging the Lord to appear. And suddenly he felt, "What is this?" And he opened his eyes, and Nimai was just a few inches away from his face, chewing on the rice, with his hand in his mouth. "Hi, hi! Again he spoiled my offering." And Jagannath Mishra came with the stick, running, and Nimai ran away, and Jagannath Mishra ran away, and he ran away, and the Brahmin was saying, no, don't hurt him, he's just a humble little boy, he doesn't know better, it's my destiny. And Jagannath Mishra said, if I don't teach him, how will he ever learn? And Nimai ran in a room and closed the door behind him, and the women were protecting, and Jagannath Mishra, he wouldn't have hit Nimai anyway, he just wanted to scare him. And now Nimai was in a room, the door was closed, and Jagannath Mishra said, "Please cook again." He said, "I'm not going to cook again, it's too late. Some fruits and roots, that's what I usually eat anyway. Only by God's grace can we eat. We should be conscious of that." Later on, Lord Chaitanya gave this example. that even if you are a wealthy prince with a whole kingdom, and the best cooks in the entire world make a feast for you, if you have indigestion, you can't eat. Or if you're just about to eat and somebody insults you and it breaks your heart, you lose your appetite. Has that happened to you sometime? So we shouldn't take anything for granted. It's only by the grace of God that we have food at all, or even have the power to eat it. So Jagannath Mishra was pleading, please cook again. He was saying, it's not meant for me to eat today. It's not the plan of my Gopal. So he refused. And at that moment, Nimai's elder brother, Vishwarup, entered the room. He's Nityananda Balaram expansion, so beautiful. And he had such humble characteristics. As soon as the Brahmin saw Vishwarup, he said, whose son is this? They told him, Jagannath Mishra's son. And Vishwarup, so gentle, respectfully bowed at the feet of the Brahmin. And he said, we are so fortunate that you have come to bless our house, but we are so unfortunate that you're our guest and you haven't eaten. Please cook again. He said, I've already tried it twice and now it's late at night. And Vishwarup said, it's not so late. And he begged and fell at the Brahmin's feet, please cook. And everybody else in the house fell at his feet and begged, please. And he said, all right, I will cook. Jagannath Mishra said, where is Nimai? The lady said, he's in the back room sound asleep. There is no worry. So he was in the room sound asleep, and from outside, Jagannath Mishra bolted the door. The Brahmin cooked. Just when he was about to make the offering, Yoga Nidra, not Yoga Nidra, Nidra Devi, the goddess of sleep, entered the house. And Sachimata, Jagannath Mishra, everybody fell asleep. Sound sleep. Except the Brahmin. He made the offering. He chanted the mantras, he did his yantras and his mudras. And as he was making the offering of Naivedha, he looked up, and there was that little smiling Nimai, taking handful after handful of rice, eating it. The rice was falling from his mouth. This was too much. It's already after midnight. He cried out louder than ever, "Hi, hi!" But everyone was asleep. And little Nimai smiled while he was chewing and food coming out of his mouth. He said, "Why are you so upset? You call me to eat and I come and eat. Why are you disturbed? You have called me with love and devotion. I cannot refuse your offering. I have come before you because I am that Gopal that you've offered your life to worship. Just see." And suddenly, that Brahmin saw Nimai manifest an incredible form. He was Krishna with 8 arms.
4 of his hands were holding the conch shell, the lotus flower, the club, and the Sudarshan chakra. 2 of his hands were playing a flute, and one hand was holding a pot of butter, and the other hand was eating it. He saw his complexion was dark, like a beautiful, beautiful bluish monsoon rain cloud. His eyes were like fully blossomed lotus petals. His lips were ruby red, like the bimba fruit. He was standing in a 3-fold bending form. The Kastubamani was decorating his chest. There was a garland of forest flowers that was extending below his knees. He was wearing cloth that it was as brilliant gold as lightning. There was wonderful, wonderful, long, curling, blackish hair circling his moon-like face. There was a peacock feather in his hair with a beautiful little crown. And he saw around the child the forest of Vrindavan. Kadamba trees, tamal trees, banyan trees, peepal trees. He saw the river Yamuna flowing, the Govardhan hill. He saw unlimited gopas and gopis all playing with the Lord and offering beautiful chants of love for Krishna. He saw Narada and Brahma and Shiva and Sanaka and Sanatan, the rishis and the devas offering flowers and prayers to the Lord. He saw unlimited Surabhi Kamadhenu cows with full udders of milk, all mooing in ecstatic love for the Lord. This was just the ultimate perfection of his constant meditation in life. When he saw it before his own eyes, in ecstasy, he fell unconscious. And little Nimai touched him. And when he touched him, just thrilled him with ecstatic bliss. And he came to consciousness. And he looked up at this beautiful form of the Lord. And then the Lord revealed this secret. He said, "You have called me to accept your offering, and I have accepted it." He said, "Birth after birth after birth, you are my loving devotee. You do not remember, but I am reminding you, in your past life, you were a pilgrim Brahmin that came to Gokul Mahavan, to the house of Nanda and Yashoda. And at that time, I ate your offerings then. And I revealed myself the same way as I am to you now at that time. He said, because you worship me with the love of your heart, your offerings are irresistible. They attract my heart. I always come to accept what you offer me. And today I have come to fulfill all of your desires. I have descended into this world in this golden form in order to spread pure love of God to towns and villages everywhere through the Sankirtan of the chanting of the holy name. Now you please remain in Navadvip for some time and watch my beautiful pastimes. But do not tell anyone who I am or what you have seen. And then little Nimai, that incredible form of Krishna, again transformed into little Nimai, was eating the rice.
And he ran away back into his room. When the Brahmin saw this, he was in uncontrollable ecstasy. He cried out. He started crying out like anything, "Gopal, Gopal!" And as he was just intoxicated chanting Gopal's name, he took that rice that Nimai was eating, and not only did he start eating it, but he was so beside himself in happiness. That rice was so pure and so sacred that he was rubbing it all over his whole body as he was eating it. And he was rolling on the ground, weeping and crying, "Gopal, Gopal." He was shouting Gopal's name so loud that Nidra Devi left the house and everybody woke up. Jagannath Mishra, Sachi Devi, and all the family came running, and they saw him rolling on the ground with rice all over his body, crying Gopal, and what's happening to this Brahmin? And when he saw them, he became very sober. And sat nicely like a Brahmin. And they said, "What happened? What happened?" He said, "I have made my offering. Gopal, everything is fine." You know. Oh, they were so happy. "So you're eating now?" He said, "Yes, I am eating now." Somehow he was restraining his ecstasies, and he wanted so bad from the core of his heart. He was thinking, if I tell them that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, my beloved Gopal, the Lord of all the universes, the beloved of Nanda and Yashoda, Nandana, Yashoda, Nandana, Vrindavan, Chandra, is living in their house as their little boy, they'll be liberated forever. But they just think he's an innocent little child. I have to tell them, but I can't tell them. Because I promised I would not tell. So he never left Navadvip after that. He would just go around begging from house to house as a pilgrim, and every day he would spend some time just watching the beautiful, beautiful pastimes of little Nimai. One day it was Ekadasi, so there were no grains. And Nimai was crying. So everybody knew what to do when Nimai cried. They chanted the holy names. But as they chanted, Nimai cried louder. This was very strange. It never happened like this before. He cried louder, they chanted louder. But he kept crying. What to do? It was intolerable. The baby's crying wildly. More people came into the house and chanted even louder. Nimai cried more intensely. Finally, Jagannath Mishra said, "My son, my child, my beloved, why are you crying?" And little Nimai became sober. He said, "Because I want the food that is being offered to Vishnu at the house of Hiranya and Jagadish Pandit. Otherwise I will cry." Now, Jagadish Pandit and Hiranya, they were very best friends of Jagannath Mishra. They lived about 2 kilometers away. But little Nimai wants the food that's offering to Vishnu. So Jagannath Mishra had to go all the way there. and said, I don't know what's happening here, but my little son wants the food that you're offering to Vishnu, otherwise he's going to cry. He's crying for your food. And Jagadish, Hiranya, they were shocked. It was too much amazing to them, because it was Ekadasi, and on that day, special, they had prepared an entire feast for Lord Vishnu. How possibly could this little child know about this? And they were thinking in their hearts, there's only one way he could know that this food's being offered to Vishnu. There is not a single person in the entire universe besides the two of us that know it's offering to Vishnu except Vishnu. So this child must be Vishnu. Let's bring him the food. So little Nimai was crying, and they brought the food, and as soon as he saw the food, he stopped crying. And Haranya and Jagadish were watching, and Jagannath Mishra and everybody, and little Nimai ate a little of each preparation. And he was so happy. He was smiling, and he started distributing it to everybody else. One day, should I end? No. I'm sorry, I don't know if you said no or Hari Bol, because that sounds... Well, it's just... So if you want me to continue, say Hari Bol. Okay, I don't know if you said no or Hari Bol. But because you're laughing, I will continue. One day, Nimai was playing with his friends on the bank of Ganga, and a mother came by with a litter or a little group of puppies that were just recently born. Very nice little puppies. And the mother kind of went away, and the little puppies were all just kind of roaming around. And Nimai and his friends, they thought the puppies were so pretty. They were so nice. And they started playing with the puppies. And each one of them wanted a puppy. And Nimai took one of them. And some of the other boys said, why you took the prettiest puppy? Why you left the others for us? And Nimai said, it's not that he's my puppy. I'll bring him home, and we can all come to my house, and we could all play with him together. So they all said, yes, yes, let's do like that. So this is a really nice puppy. I don't know how many of you have been attached to puppies in your life, but this was a very nice puppy. And Nimai brought him home, and all the boys were together playing with the puppy. But one of the boys was angry. He said, Nimai, why you took the best puppy and not for us? And Nimai said to him, why are you always complaining and criticizing others? Why don't we just be united and play together? And this other boy said, because you took the best puppy. And he ran out of the house. And then Sachimata, meanwhile, was with her friends bathing in the Ganga. And as they were coming home, Sachimata was heading back to the home. This one boy ran up to Sachi Devi and said, your son Nimai has brought a dog into your house. A dirty dog, and he's playing with him. He's holding the dog on his shoulders and in his face. Sachi said, my son would never do that. He said, well, go home and see. So he went home. Sachi Devi came home, and there she saw little Nimai with the puppy on his head and the puppy on his shoulders, and he was playing with puppy, and Sachi Devi was shocked. She said, Nimai, what are you doing? This is the house of a Brahmin. This is a house where we all make offerings to Lord Vishnu. This puppy is dirty. You are ruining the reputation of a whole family and dynasty of Brahmins who believe in suchi, cleanliness. And Nimai said, Mother, I like this puppy. He's so nice. Sachi Devi said, just eat some sweets. I have some nice kheer for you. Take this kheer, and then after taking the kheer, I'll massage your body with nice oils, and then go to the Ganga and take your bath, and I have some more, prasad for you when you come back, and we'll tie the puppy here, and the puppy will be here when you get back. He said, all right, the puppy will be here when I come back. She said, yes. Now go take your bath, and I'll have some nice preparations for you. So Nimai with his friends, frolicked down to the Ganga and took his bath. And he and his friends were playing with each other and splashing each other, and they played so many games. Lochan Das Thakur, who tells this story in Sri Chaitanya Mangal, he explains that as many games as have ever been created in the history of the universe, Nimai would play all those games every day with his friends. Now you may think, how is that possible? It's not possible for you or me. But for Nimai, everything is possible. The great acharyas explain that Ananta Shesha, with the 1,000 mouths that he has, and he's constantly chanting the glories of the Lord, even if for the entire span of creation, with all of his 1,000 mouths, he continuously chanted, he could not explain as many pastimes as the Lord would perform in one moment. That is Achintya Shakti. And the highest perfection of Achintya Shakti is not in how the Lord creates the universal creation, which is really inconceivable. Just think about the sun. Those of you who are scientifically oriented, how much bigger is the sun than the earth in size? Radhe Shyam Prabhu, you are the expert at these technicalities, yes? According to Radhe Shyam Prabhu, who has a master's degree at IIT, and who is the author of these incredible literatures explaining bhakti from a scientific point of view, 25,000? Radhe Shyam Prabhu is saying the sun planet is 25,000 times bigger than the earth. And in this whole earth planet, which is just 1/250,000th the size of the sun, what is Mumbai in size? And in Mumbai, where there's how many people, Radhe Shyam Prabhu? He knows how many are in Pune, though. Radhe Shyam Prabhu is authoritatively speculating that there are 2 crores of people. That's 20,000? 20 million. 20 million. How many rats? So 20 million people in this little tiny speck of Mumbai compared to the sun planet. And yet, who are we? We're one of those little people. Yes? And this body, and as far as you as the jiva, you're 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair. Hari Hari. God is great. And yet, when this one little 10,000th tip of a hair, the jiva, when you awaken love for Krishna, Krishna's conquered by your love. That's the power of love. That's the power of devotion. Mahatma. Mahatma doesn't mean physical size. Mahatma means love and compassion. That's what makes a person great. Because God himself becomes subordinate to the love of a devotee. So, Lord Chaitanya was playing with his friends, and splashing each other, laughing, swimming around. And while he was gone, Sachimata untied the puppy. Because, you see, if we look into this Leela a little deeper, Sachimata's a mother. So she sent the puppy back to his mother. But a little boy saw Sachimata do that. So he ran to the Ganga and yelled to Nimai, Sachimata untied the puppy and sent him away. Oh, Nimai was very angry. Nimai is the source of Lord Shiva. You know what happened when Kamadev tried to disturb Shiva and through his third eye he burned Kamadev to ashes? And little Nimai was angry. He came storming back, trembling in a fury, and saw that the puppy wasn't there. Said, Mother, where is the puppy? You know how much I love this little puppy. You know how much this puppy was giving me so much happiness. Why did you let go of this puppy? And Sachi Devi said, oh, where's the puppy? Oh. Puppy's gone. This puppy must have got away, but we will find the puppy. I'll find the puppy for you. Right now, Nimai, let me put on nice clothes for you and eat your kheer and eat your sweets and be happy. So then she put a sweet ball right in Nimai's mouth. And Nimai ate the sweet ball. And within a couple days, whatever happened to that puppy, it is revealed in the Holy Scriptures. That little puppy was in the middle of the town of Navadvip. It was just about this big. And he got on his back paws and lifted his front paws and started crying out the names of Radha Krishna. He was crying out, Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. Radhe Govinda. And as he was chanting the names of Radha Govinda right in front of everybody's eyes, torrents of tears were pouring from his little puppy eyes. And all of his hairs were standing on end. And puppies have lots of hairs. They were standing straight up like the thorns of the shamuli tree. They were standing up, and his limbs were trembling, and with a choked voice, that little puppy was... little puppies have high voices. Like they bark like... He was crying out, Radhe Govinda! Radhe Govinda! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna! As people were watching him, they were struck with wonder. He was inducing everybody to chant the names of Radha Govinda. And suddenly, right in front of their eyes, the little puppy, Radhe Govinda! Radhe Govinda! Fell to the ground, lifeless. He was dead, physically. What happened? Krishna tells us in Gita, Antakale chamameva smaran vakva kalevaram. One who remembers me at the time of death attains me without fail. Suddenly, a magnificent airship made out of celestial gold with beautiful domes descended from the spiritual sky. And residents of the spiritual world picked up this little puppy and put him on the airship. And right when he touched it, he manifested his original spiritual form, his Siddhadeha. They put him on a jeweled throne, and Gandharvas were singing, and Kinnaras were waving yak tails. And in his completely liberated body, the airship was bringing him back to Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual world. And Brahma, Shiva, Narada, and all great devas, seeing this, enraptured, in amazement, were crying out the glories of Lord Gauranga. As a little child, Nimai, nobody even knows who he is. He's sending a baby puppy dog back to the spiritual world. We have never seen in any other avatar such an extent of grace. They had seen the Lord deliver demons. They had seen the Lord deliver great devotees. But to send a little dog back to Goloka Vrindavan, that's beyond liberation. That's beyond Vaikuntha. To be an eternal associate. The demigods were praying, will we ever be so fortunate as this puppy is to receive such mercy of Lord Gauranga? And sing the extent of the Lord's kindness. They celebrated Lord Gauranga's descent into this universe by loudly chanting the holy name. One day Nimai was naughty, and Jagannath Mishra chastised him. And that night, a very illuminating celestial personality in the form of a Brahman appeared to Jagannath Mishra in a dream. It wasn't exactly a dream, it was a vision. He said, you do not understand. Your child is the absolute truth, the cause of all causes. He's the supreme personality of God, and he's the Lord of all lords. You should not chastise him like that. And Jagannath Mishra, in his parental affection, told the Brahmin, I don't know who he is, but all I know is he's my son. And if I don't teach him how to behave, how will he ever learn? This is the beauty of the Leela of the Lord, of how He facilitates His devotee to love Him as a parent, as a friend, as a lover.
One day,
I think we should end here because it's 1:30 and there'll be other speakers also. But I'll tell one story.
there was
A sage
who was famous
for having the internal vision to tell a person who they was in their past life. He was a seer of the truth. So when Nimai was a little older, he was Nimai Pandit at that time, he came to that seer and said, "Sir, please tell me, who was I in my last life?" So the seer closed his eyes and chanted his mantra to his Ishtadev to reveal who is this boy in his past life. And suddenly in his vision, he saw a prison house. It was dark at the time of midnight, and he saw Vasudeva and Devaki on their knees with folded hands offering prayers, and he saw this beautiful form with 4 arms of the Supreme Lord illuminating all directions. And then he saw Balgopal, the worshipable Lord of the universe, going to the houses of the gopis, stealing butter and eating the butter. And then he saw, he was praying, I'm seeing all these visions, Lord, but please show me who this child was in his past life. And then he saw Krishna in his Tribhanga, his threefold bending form, playing his flute. And this Brahmin, he was hearing the beautiful song of Krishna's flute, and he was crying, "My beloved Balgopal, my worshipable Lord, you're distracting me so many ways. I want to do seva for this Nimai. Please show me who he was in his past life." And then he saw in his mind Ram sitting on a throne with Sita sitting beside him and Lakshman on the other side and Hanuman and Sugriva and all the monkeys offering beautiful prayers to him. And then he saw an incredible sight. There was the whole universe, and there was the Garbhodak ocean, and then emerging from the Garbhodak ocean was this gigantic, magnificent Lord Varahadev with the entire earth in his tusks. And then from that he saw, emerging from a gigantic pillar, Narasimhadev, with the head and the claws and the tail of a lion and the body of a man, tearing to pieces Hiranyakashipu, and then offering benedictions to little Prahlad. And the Brahmin was thinking, what? This has never happened to me. Who is this boy? Who is this boy? And then he saw this little from Narasimhadev transformed into a little boy who was holding an umbrella and a begging bowl, going up to Bali Maharaj and begging him for charity. Then that little boy manifested into a gigantic, magnificent fish, Matsyavatar, with a horn. And tied to the horn was the serpent Vashuki, and on the other side of that was a boat, and on the boat was King Satyavrat and all the great sages and rishis and different representatives of all the herbs and the species of life on the ocean of devastation. And then he saw Lord Balaram. So beautiful, with a complexion like a spring cloud. He had a club over his shoulder, and he had a plow, and he was scratching the river Yamuna, and he saw Yamuna Devi coming out before him with folded hands and surrendering. And then from there, Baladev transformed into his form, the the Mahabhava Swarup of Balaram. He saw Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra giving their magnificent darshan, liberating the entire world with their own attractive, transcendental features. The Brahmin was seeing Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra worshiping him, and then he cried out. He was totally bewildered as he was worshiping Jagannath, Balaram, and Subhadra in his mind, in his heart of hearts. Nimai spoke and said, "Oh mystic, oh sage, who am I? Who was I? What are you seeing? Why don't you tell me?" The sage was totally bewildered. He came out of his trance and looked at little Nimai and said, "Let me analyze carefully and come back later today and I will tell you." Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki. Thank you very much.